Hello and welcome, everybody. My name is Desiree DeMars. I'm an artist, evolutionary coach, shamanic practitioner, and BQH hypnotist. And I'm here today to share with you in my coaching practice what is known as an intro to the RECODE, which is a process that is part of a coaching program that I offer that has merged brain science with the deeper spiritual understandings of who we are, what our energy fields are made up of, and how we can utilize this incredible, uh, almost magical part of ourselves, part of the brain, which has an experience or a process within itself known as the window of reconsolidation. And when this window is open and we tap into it via this process that I'm going to share with you today, we are able to actually assist the brain in recoding itself with new ideas, new ways of thinking, new beliefs that is free of pain and struggle and resistance, and can allow us at the very basic level to just experience more joy in our life. And along with that, it can allow us to move forward in ways that we have never been able to move before, to break through barriers that we've had and accomplish the goals of our dreams. So, with that said, I am going to follow along something that I've written and put together, and then I'm going to be showing you some slides, hopefully, if my screen share cooperates, so that you get a visual sense too of what I'm talking about, not just words. So, this Recode intro is the fundamentals of a process known as recoding that teaches you how to connect to a part of you called the superconscious. Now, it's something that we all have, the superconscious. Some people call it higher self, spirit, but it is a field of information that was created or has created all memory and can also create profound changes within our emotions, within our feelings, our understanding of what life is really about and who we are as a conscious creator. It's not a state of trance, and you can do the work on yourself. However, it is easier and more enjoyable to have a coach do the work with you. Learning to do this presents no danger in any way to any other type of treatment or, um, processes that you're utilizing at this time, although we do refer to it as a treatment plan just out of convenience. But it's just a command or an energy concept. Um, so it does not interfere with any kind of medications or other work that you might be doing at this time. And then, of course, we know also that the brain, the subconscious, can block any kind of treatment or information or coding that it so desires, and that you are always the one in control. So, to ensure that all parts and aspects are working together, there are a few core premises that I'm sharing with you here in this video. And then after that, if you are working with myself or anyone else receiving a recode, you don't have to go through this information again. So, what I'd like to share with you first is, let's see if I can get my screen share going. Um, just a broader picture of the overall process of what magnetic mind coaching or this recode has to do with the service that I offer and the content of what other coaches out there are using too. So let's see. So, in general, we know as a human, we all share this journey, kind of this hero's journey, so to speak. And that is that we come in as a pure creative spirit. We become an individual with a limited perspective, depending on where and how we grow up. we orientate ourselves to the world through this limitation or this lens, and then we create our life through this limitation or this understanding of limitations and what life has to offer us. And in general, most of us, if you kind of look out there in society too, you'll see so much of it is about problem solving, as if things are problems that we're going to fix and they're just going to go away. And what anybody who's been on the path, I'm sure, knows is that most things, you cannot fix them. You can't fix another person. They are who they are. You are who you are. And we each are the ones in control of that. So trying to fix things because we think they're a problem, this little part of the illustration just shows we go back and forth, or we oscillate, or we just get stuck in a rut, which I'm sure everybody has been there, where we just feel like we're not moving forward at all. And we just go back and forth with being stuck, maybe feeling a little relief, and then stuck again. So this RECODE process, and part of the magnetic mind coaching that I am involved with teaching about and offering as one of my services, is when we get to this point where we know there's something else, there's got to be more to life. We want to understand that more deeply, and we want to understand it at a level where we can become in charge of how we are creating our life. And so what we call that in the magnetic mind process is connecting to your superconscious in order to bring you to a place of a shift, which I'm just trying to point out here at the bottom of the screen. And all it takes is you deciding to become a creator and live the 4 core choices, which I'll go over shortly. But they're basically about living a life you love, having health and vitality, being the predominant creative force in your life, and living your true nature and purpose. So when we come to that place and know that we have it all now, and we stand at this place, we are this powerful creator, all it takes is some recoding these old beliefs and patterns to shift into this place of power, or this place of being our own true creator, or the creator of our true choices. So this process itself, as I said, is about kind of aligning the heart and the brain. And many of you probably are familiar with a lot of scientific research that's gone on through the HeartMath Institute that already proves this scientifically, that there is an alignment there, there's an energy, there's a field. And in fact, we are an electromagnetic soul, which this speaks to me incredibly because of all the years of my shamanic practice with ancestral healing, of understanding that from a spiritual standpoint, and now seeing that science is lining up with this understanding. So we are recoding all the resistance, following through, turning thoughts into things, manifesting them in our life, living our truth, having it all now, and just continuing to create more of what we love. So I'm going to stop sharing that slide and just come back to a little bit more about the outline here that I'd like to share with you today. So again, what all of that means is that you're not broken, you're superconscious, and the common denominator is actually the structure in which we live our lives. There is no problem. There's nothing wrong with us as a person, as a being. We're each making true choices which are essential to our transformation, to our evolution as a collective. And so what we're doing is just returning to our power of being that creative spirit that we came in being. So what we're looking at next is these different levels of personalities and aspects. And I'm going to pop in a slide which shows that you are made of a main personality and then many other sub-personalities and aspects. And when these are all working together, which I'm sure everybody has felt, when we are in flow and everything's aligned, we know we can move through anything, and time just goes like that. So at that point, we're obviously feeling a lot more satisfaction and a lot less pain. So life is just moving smoother. It's going with the flow. And this is because we are actually connected to that superconscious memory, which is the field of information that was present before you were born and has been passed down through your DNA. And we know this through the beautiful body of work of Dr. Bruce Lipton, The Biology of Belief. If you haven't read it, it's a must read, where he talks about his understanding and discoveries about epigenetics and how we are also not, it's not just about our DNA. We know proteins are making connections constantly, and that is happening also through epigenetics, what we're picking up on from our environment. So, in the process, when you give me permission to connect to your superconscious, I can connect and work with you on your behalf because when we're all tuned into the superconscious level, this is where often you hear people say, we're all one, we're all connected, and it's true. It's in this field of information that is vast, infinite, and eternal that we are connecting to what's not in alignment with that and helping realign ourselves to this flow, to this place of superconscious awareness. And I'm doing so through a process called a kinesiology, or a method known as a kinesiology or muscle testing, just to get yes-no feedbacks from the superconscious field. And then what we're testing for is all about the resistance. Things that are not aligned, false beliefs, definitions, parts, personalities that are not on board with moving forward, events that hold memories about why it's not safe or why you shouldn't do it, any kind of family history. It could be broken agreements, secondary intentions, even body system information can stop us from moving forward if it's holding a painful or resistant memory. So let me see if I can now pop in the slide that I wanted to show you. And that is two. I've actually got two. So here is a slide that I just love in its simplicity, that it shows you the basic 3 levels of consciousness that we're working with during a recode. Before we're prepping, we're uncovering and trying to figure out where this resistance is. We're looking at the self-conscious, the ego, which we know lives in the concept of polarity. Good, bad, right, wrong, black, white, bad, evil. Then we've got the unconscious aspect of ourselves here at the center, which is a circle with a dot in it. And that is sometimes referred to as the soul by some. It is unconscious, or some people call it the subconscious part of the soul, of the self. But what is of our interest in this process is that this circle divided in quarters is expressing this idea of the unconscious has one main goal, and that is to keep us alive, to keep us safe. And so we may do it through different ways, different approaches, but basically, we probably all have experienced this, is like we have this great idea, we're going to go for it, and then boom, something gets in the way. And it can often be the unconscious, some kind of unconscious memory or part of ourselves that does not feel safe in letting us move forward for whatever reason. And then we have the superconscious, which is what we're talking about tapping into. And so it's designated by a circle with a dot in the center, meaning it is source, it is information that is infinite and eternal. So, with that said, I am going to share the next slide with you, which will give you a greater understanding of how this is laid out in our life's journey. So, when we're talking about these 3 levels that you see, and I'll explain more shortly about how we're just for brevity, during a process, we'll just say memories 1, 2, and 3. But we're talking again about the superconscious, the unconscious, and the self-conscious. And but here you can see on this line below, this kind of gives you a timeline view of conception. So you can see the superconscious has been happening before and during and after our conception. Then, just before birth, the unconscious aspect of ourselves that's still there, that comes in with some information already, comes in before birth. So this could be that prenatal or pre-birth time, which as a coach and as a shamanic practitioner, I know lots of people will often share, oh my God, I remember the music that was playing, or I remember I heard somebody say XYZ. And so this is the time frame we're talking about when these memories come in. The unconscious starts to kick in before birth. And it's still the superconscious is going along all the way through. And then at about 4 years is what this chart shows. But of course, I have talked to people who say at 2 and 3, they were very self-conscious, very aware of things that were happening around them and to them, even though they weren't 4. It's just that at about 4 is when we tend to, most of us, our brain is functioning at a higher level, and we're able to start to put things together and understand how things work, how the world is, why people do what they do. We start to discern and make our own judgments about that. So from then, like 4 on, we're looking at this self-conscious that gets developed, whereas superconscious has been with us all along and it is in the background. And so you can start to see how the superconscious would be the area you'd want to tap into just to retrieve any kind of information whatsoever that you're seeking. So with that said, I also want to show you another slide that will just explain a little bit about these memories and how they move, interact with one another in our field of awareness. So if we are talking about our active field of awareness, our active field of consciousness here, designated by this golden egg-shaped image, you can see we've got the unconscious and the self-conscious. We know they're there. We know at what times they've come into our life, basically. So we know they're a part of our overall makeup. And yet we have these dormant memories, which, we all know. Somebody will say, remember when? And you cannot for the life of you remember it. They could be long-term or short-term memories, but they are just dormant until something triggers them or something brings it up. Like for example, if I were to say, when is the last time you rode a bicycle? Now, you might not remember, you weren't thinking of it before I asked you, but when I ask you, suddenly you start to go back into those files of your memory and you say, oh my gosh, it's been about 10 years, 2 years, 2 months, whatever it is. But then you are activating that dormant memory so that it pops up into your active awareness and then becomes an active memory. So this is what we're doing when we look at, in the RECODE process, when we are looking at aspects of ourself that have patterns and beliefs that we no longer wish to be being a part of our life, being a part of the formula of how we're creating our lives, then we are talking about recoding those. And so this is why it's helpful to bring a dormant memory into, let's see, I'm going to screen share one more thing with you. And that is just the process in general of what we'll be doing. And that is these 5 steps. We'll be choosing a true goal, creating a structural tension, We'll be looking at the emotion of the end result and focusing on that so that that is what we're moving towards, or we're magnetizing ourselves to that. And then the recode is here where we're just unplugging, rewiring ourselves so that everything is in flow, in alignment, and moving toward that desired reality. And then the last part is always taking aligned action. So we ask ourselves at the end of each recode, of course, what is the most aligned action we can take? So that is the general outline of what we'll be doing. And let me see if I will just look at my presentation here and see if I've missed anything that I wanted to cover today. So we talked about the active experiences, the advantages of treatment, as I mentioned a few, but I will give you the 6 top advantages for doing RECODE or doing this type of coaching work is to gain more satisfaction and less pain, to stop intrusions, takeovers, or unconscious reactions. I describe that as those dormant memories that just pop in. To stop losing time, to support all parts, to run the body efficiently and at the same time. I mentioned that when I talked about one of the 4 core choices is health and vitality for the entire body system. And then to stop the main personality from hiding information. That can happen. We all know that. We can withhold. And then the main reason or advantage for this work is that we are creating a cohesive personality, which we know functions best, or sometimes it's called a monopersonality, but it functions the best because every part of ourselves is on board and aligned. So I mentioned that we call the RECODE process, a part of it, the treatment plan, and there is also a treatment team. And this is just a part and a way to designate that what we are doing is organizing these aspects into a cohesive group that will work together to bring more satisfaction and less pain. So it's important that all these aspects are in alignment so that you can move towards your desired goals, your desired choices. We ask during this treatment plan if the superconscious is willing to be on board with bringing information forth that can be used to recode these beliefs and patterns that are not in alignment, are not aligned with our desired reality. Now, these commands were actually coined by Dr. Gary Flint in his groundbreaking research, so I want to give him credit. He's no longer with us, but it was taught to my teacher, Chris Duncan, by his teacher, Colette Stryker, which Colette is an amazing woman who is the owner and director of the MAP Coaching Institute. And I will put a link below if you want to do some research about her work and recoding, because she was definitely a pioneer at bringing together this information from brain scans, brain research through her own clients over the course of really a body of work of over 35 years for her. So what I will do when we start the process is to ask permission to connect to your superconscious by saying something like, Superconscious, are all parts and aspects on the treatment team and desiring treatment. I observe the response energetically that I receive from you through muscle testing while I'm just observing this field of energy that we're both now sharing, which is the superconscious. And then I'm asking the superconscious to tag and treat any resistance in the perfect way and the perfect order, and to do a massive change history on all that is needed. And then we're just waiting. In fact, I get chills now just saying that out loud, of just the power that gets triggered for that aspect of ourself, the superconscious, to align itself with this new desired goal, these new beliefs and ideas that we have that we're wanting to move toward. And so as the treatment or as the session goes forward, we will dive more deeply into removing any barriers to the treatment itself. So again, like there are parts of us that don't want to join, that have had a bad memory. It's a part that just became aware that this process is possible. Some of the memories of pain may be too great for some of us to be treated safely, which is totally valid. Uh, there might be a fear there that some kind of, remembering something will re-traumatize the main personality. The part might simply just not want to join at this time, or the part has a fear of dying. These unconscious aspects of ourselves that are really geared toward survival and our safety can definitely have a fear of this change that we're asking to have happen or inviting to have happen. Or there can be a fear of losing wisdom, knowledge, or understanding in some way, thinking that, wow, all of a sudden we're not going to be able to remember something, which is nothing is further from the truth. If anything, you will have a greater field of memory and understanding about who you are and how and why you are making choices every day. So usually we can just ask these parts that are blocking treatment to become informed by explaining to them what the advantages of the treatment plan is. And then just gently asking them, being very considerate and kind, and asking them to join the treatment team. It might be a question about saying, will the superconscious, will you allow this treatment of just a small part? Or if there is, it feels like there's a block there, we can ask if the part is aware that the result of this process will be more satisfaction and less pain. Or we can remind them that no parts will die. And after this treatment, after the recode, you will find that the resistance has lowered. You will have more satisfaction and way less pain. And all of your wisdom, knowledge, and understanding will be preserved and only used when appropriate. And often that is when a part that might be stubborn is finally aligned and willing to be a part of the treatment plan. But we work through that as part of the process, part of the uncovering, to discover what these thoughts, feelings, and beliefs are. So, as a part of a learning process, there's no hypnosis, no trance, no indirect means. You're alert and aware of everything you're hearing. And this treatment process is taught with a simple metaphor. Again, through the mastermind of Dr. Gary Flint, one of his key metaphors was of a football field. If we were thinking of the brain and thinking of its neuroplasticity and its ability to change, in that window of reconsolidation that I mentioned earlier, that this is when brain synapses are ready to recode or reconnect to make a solid new understanding or piece of information there in the brain. We often will use metaphors, and one example is this. Imagine the brain is a football field, a smooth playing field with no bumps. In fact, you can close your eyes right now if you'd like and just imagine this. The brain is a football field, a smooth playing field with no bumps. Energy is just flowing in and out naturally and easily. But when a phobia, a negative belief, or a painful memory or a part becomes active and moves into this playing field, which we know to be this active field, it's no longer dormant, just pops up out of nowhere. A gopher hole pops up in some particular sequence. So we are then able to treat that emotion by allowing the superconscious to remember this sequence or remember aspects of this experience and gradually through the process smooth over a little bit at a time. Sometimes a feather, the idea of we've got this magic feather and it's just smoothing over the gopher holes. And as the superconscious remembers the sequence, and we just repeat this till all holes will just disappear, all these mounds of dirt just smooth over once again. Now, that is just one metaphor. Other metaphors, each coach will resonate with different images and likes to use different metaphors. And that is, one might be the river of desires, that these boulders get in the way, blocking our flow. Another popular one is the elephant. We all know when a baby elephant has a small cord tied around it and tied to that post in the ground, it feels like it knows it can't go any further, so it doesn't. And then when it's an adult, it still will maintain that idea of restriction with that rope tied to the stake in the ground. And the metaphors go on and on. You might have some of your own that just pop into your awareness when I give you those. So I will continue then to just have a conversation with the superconscious, which you have given me permission, and I'm connected with you through that. So we're communicating through this field of information to understand more deeply how to diagnose and treat any of the painful memories or beliefs that are popping up. Now, there are 6 top beliefs that most people share, and I'll just go through those with you now. It's I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, I don't belong, I'm not perfect, I am not capable, and I'm not significant. And I'm sure all of us have had one or multiple ones of these at any given time. I mean, they can just pop up out of nowhere. And we say to ourselves, oh my gosh, I know I'm totally capable of this, so why am I frozen? And why can't I move forward? So, and why we want to shift from a problem solving, like if that pops up and then we feel like it's a problem, rather than trying to fix something that is just completely natural, instead, what we want to shift into is this way of being that allows us to live with these 4 orientational choices, which I shared earlier, but I'll just go over them again. And that is, I choose to live a life I love. I choose health and vitality. I choose to live my true nature and purpose. And I choose to be the predominant creative force in my life. So, I think what I'd like to do next is show you and then I'll go over it briefly, is a slide again that shows you the 5 steps. And it's just a great illustration to show you the direction that we are moving in during a session. So we're starting out with creating a true goal, something that we truly love and just know we want this in our life because we absolutely love it, not because it's a problem and we're trying to fix it and then we'll be happy. No, it's a true goal. We want to live a life we love, for example. And then we're looking at the creative tension that's there when we realize, okay, this is my goal and this is where I am now. And they are not aligned. Okay, I want to go here. This is what's going on now. How do I get from here to there? And that is by creating a structure that allows all possibilities and recodes these negative beliefs and patterns so that all these parts of us are on board and moving forward toward the desired result. And so that's what you see here, signified by the magnet, is that we are literally, when we come and we align ourselves, and I describe that as the wizard's gate. When we're standing there, we say, wow, everything is great now, everything is great there. And then sure enough, what happens? We are just drawn to this desired reality or end result because we are aligned with it, and energetically it's just natural to move toward it. And so again, the RECODE process itself is all about tapping into the superconscious awareness, recoding what is not in alignment, and just continuing that process of uncovering, recoding, and moving forward until we come to a place where we've come into a a reality or understanding or an experience where we have shifted our physical experience, our physical awareness, our active experience in that moment. And then I always like to ask, what is your next aligned action? I think we all know that we can have a lot of thoughts, ideas, have inspiration, but then again, if we don't take any action on it, we will not be able to create what it is we truly desire. So, okay, let me just look again one more time at what I've just covered. That's basically the process, the 5 parts or 5 steps. And then once we've come around to a place where naturally the session feels like it's coming to a close, we've achieved the results that we were desiring with the RECODE. I then just talk or communicate with the Superconscious, with you, and ask that we please ground all the memories that we touched on, memories 1, 2, and 3, and reconnect everything back into the matrix or the magic of the universe so that we feel grounded, aligned, and revitalized as a part of this incredible superconscious field of awareness that we all are. So I personally might take a few extra steps here just to bring in some tapping, which I have found allows somebody to feel more grounded, or I might bring into someone's awareness an aspect of shamanic understanding from ancestral healing that I feel will help the person ground the experience more and assist them with taking aligned action. So I hope you've enjoyed this brief intro RECODE, and that I am asking anybody who's interested in receiving a free RECODE with me that you have watched this video or watched another video of somebody describing the approach, the understanding, and the process, so that you are more greatly informed, and then you can glean much, much more from the actual experience, because then you can just let go of the inner workings, the intellectual aspect of why we call it RECODE, why it works, and just trust that your body, your superconscious, this medicine within you can come forth through this superconscious field, or this field of intelligence, this field of information that is infinite, and you can start developing that within yourself. And simply by changing your life, being in higher levels or higher states of joy, of creativity, of understanding, that others around you will also receive the benefits of the Superconscious RECODE. So I thank you for joining me, and stay tuned for more videos. And if you like more information about my coaching process, you can go to my website, DesireeDeMars.com. I'll post all of this in the link below, and you can learn more about coaching or ancestral healing, and the free meetup ancestral recodes that I offer through the Soma Soul Tribe that I'm a part of with other coaches. So thank you all, and have a fantastic day. Be super conscious.